it was some of the things that we were worried about during the pandemic, that we would lose the experience of the cinema. We would never have that experience of being in a dark room with strangers, that all live performance would die. You know, we have quite short memories, and at that time there wasn't even a vaccine. You know, there was a long period there, 9 months, where we thought, is this it? Are we ever going to be out with our friends again, or in the world, and be able to enjoy art and cinema and theatre, and you know, and so I think that was in large part what stimulated it. And at the same time, a bunch of memories that, but in a sense, for the first time in my adult life, I was left alone with my family and my loved ones. But you have to look at yourself during those times, period of self-examination and reflection, and the memories that bubbled to the surface were memories from this time and the early 80s, from you know, memories of growing up with mental illness in the family, memories of my own teenage years, formative years, the times when my own racial politics were formed, a time of great incendiary racial politics that felt not dissimilar to some of the things that we were going through globally during the pandemic as well. So all of those things felt both of the time and yet peculiarly current. And I hope they do when you see the movie. I hope that it feels like then, but also now.
I can't remember how I felt about it when I first read it, but I loved her, and I felt for her, and I think, and Sam dealt with it so delicately and empathetically, and the friendship she made in their little sort of funny group in the cinema, who maybe she didn't realise they were friends, but by the end of the film realises she's in the best place, and she gets looked after, and she is forgiven for for the things she does, and I thought it was a lovely journey for that character, and I was honoured to be able to play it, and I think, yes, Sam, it's all down to Sam. Sam did it beautifully.
For me, what was actually special about actually joining that is because it was kind of filmed in a chronological way. So I was itching to get to set. Like, I just wanted to be there so badly. But by that point, everyone had already been working together. So when I came in, it was like everyone's kind of already built up their little families and stuff like that. And I felt like I was joining, but it was also, welcoming. Everyone it just felt right. And I felt like that was definitely down to the filming schedule. But I guess it is, the cinema was a place of all of these kind of people that have been, kind of neglected by society in a certain way, all coming together for the love of film. Whether they were just doing it as a job or not, they all loved film, and I think that was evident between all of the characters, So it was fun to be able to work with everyone, and seeing how everybody embodied the characters, not just on when we're filming scenes where we're speaking and that, but when we had to be alive just as our characters. I felt like that was special.
For my process, I tried to remain very subjective in a sense, do you know what I mean? And sort of get into the mind of the character and sort of go, well, what does it mean for her and what she wants in her relationships? So I think, my focus as Michael's character's mum was, I was trying to be truthful, being a West Indian mum, immigrant mother who is working. My son is on the cusp of adulthood and he's about to leave the nest. And then this relationship that he's in comes to light and how that would land. Also in this period that Sam is talking about of this sort of political upheaval, racial upheaval, all the stuff. And so I really tried to bring it really close to me. So what does this mean? And it was sticky. It was really sticky to kind of this older white woman who's with my son at this time when actually that kind of relationship publicly is really could put his life in danger. And then not being able to kind of really voice how I actually felt. Sam was very clear about, after each take, getting me to internalize more and more what I was actually feeling, because I think what I wanted to do in so many ways as his mother is to just sort of jump out of my skin and grab him by the ear and take him home and say, no, back, no, go to college, study something. And so I just had to be really personal about that and then follow Sam's lead. He's Sam Mendes, so if you're directed by him, you hang off his every word. And he just kind of helped me bring all of that inside and let the story happen and the relationship manifest itself.
But can I also add how much they gave? You know, I the first thing I said when I offered both of them the role is, tell me what you think. What's wrong? Does it feel real? Does it feel true to you? Does it feel true to your experiences, which are totally different from mine? You know, come in. You know, even when we first created Delia's flat, you know, which is where Stephen has been brought up. Does it feel real? I wanted to make it yours, you know, and I couldn't have wished for better, more generous, tactful collaborators who, when there was criticism, and there should be, it came, you know, in the right way. It just felt it felt like a window into Tanya's world as much as it was into mine, you know, and I think that's when it really starts to work nicely as collaboration, and you know that. Filmmaking could be very hierarchical. You know, you basically say this is how it is, and no one's going to challenge you unless you ask. But it feels more and more like, as I get older, it's a group of people, a small group here, mostly in a way cut off from the world, partly because we're in Margate, which is it felt like the end of the world sometimes in the winter. And secondly, because it was COVID, and because we were all not allowed to mingle with other people. It was a tiny little family. And it felt more and more like a group of people trying to, as a unit, just trying to reach for one thing. And for me, the experience of the film, quite aside from whether it's successful or not successful, or how you even define that, was a success. You know, I felt it was an incredibly rewarding time, and that group of people, I felt love for all of them, and the characters and the actors. So I really feel grateful that whole time happened.
It's really interesting. The films I've done with Sam have been, each one has been so different. And when he sent me this script, I was expecting something else that we talked about after 1917. So I expecting a totally different script, and then suddenly this lands through the door. And it's so delicate and so much about friendship and community and the little things that really matter in life. You know, and that's what he's really good at. Whether it's, you know, like 1917, okay, you can say it's a big canvas, but it's really about that moment when, you know, George is dying. You know, I mean, not George, but Schofield's. I mean, Blake is dying, and Schofield's suffering, and it's about those little moments. To me, that's what films are, and I think this film has it in the nth degree. You know, that just those little moments, how we see Hillary. I mean, one of the most memorable scenes for me is Hillary standing waiting for the social worker and the police to knock down the door, because you just know. One of the last documentaries I shot and made with a friend was following people through their patients in a mental hospital, following them through their treatment. And this would happen time and time again, that the people would be sent home, and they would be home for a month or two, and then gradually they regress, you know, the revolving door, and they'd be back in the institution or in a home. And that I found, those little moments mean so much, you know.
It's worth saying also that, you know, Roger and I, you know, the first time we worked together, we were working on a handheld, you know, movie called Jarhead, handheld cameras, 2 cameras all the time. We never storyboarded anything, you know, and he was, you know, operating it all himself. The camera was on his shoulder, and we just went for it, you know. And then we did Skyfall, which was on a giant scale, and, you know, camera moved in a totally different way, and we were trying to corral units of people doing things. And then we do 1917, which is effectively all one long, you know, labyrinthine shot. And then here we've every time we work together, we try to let the material dictate the way we make it. And, you know, that's quite odd when I've written it, but I had to take my writer's hat off, and I only really put my director's hat on when I started talking with Roger. What does this movie need in order to speak? You know, how should we be making it? Not, you know, what's going to be the showiest or the, you know, the most contemporary, or the, you know, what are the images that we both see? And in a way, that's one of the most enjoyable parts of the process for me, is sitting with Roger for those 2 or 3 weeks and just literally talking every scene through. And what came out was a very still, quiet shooting style. Tableau, movie. The camera moves very rarely, apart from when the characters move, and observational as a style. And for that, you need great actors. You need to observe things that are worth observing. And in that regard, we were very lucky.
Oh, I just say I used to do, rock videos, music videos, and if the band wasn't so good, you'd move the camera as much as possible, right? But if you were shooting B.B. King, you just stayed there on his face and his guitar.
Wow. That's brilliant. Wow. You've never told me that before.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm so glad that I didn't interrupt you saying that. Wow.
What I loved about building that relationship was literally just being ourselves and just going to set each day and just, exchanging energy for everyone else to kind of just absorb that energy to want to be at work. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? I feel like that's such an important part of it. And then when you do that, everyone's just happy. Like, I never went in thinking, oh, I got to work with Olivia today. I'm always going in thinking, yes, like I can't wait to get on set with Olivia and just try new things and see what she comes with it, because with acting, sometimes I build up this ideology of how you think a scene's gonna go, and with someone like Olivia, you never know how it's gonna go. And for me, as someone that's so early in my career, it's just so exciting. And for me wanting to learn from her so much, I think that relationship was just bright and fun, and you can see that because essentially Hilary and Stephen's relationship is built off of an exchange of ideas, love, and they both share things, and I feel like that was pretty much just me and Olivia in real life too. So yeah, it was fun. It was really, really fun. And it's something that I'll never forget. So yeah, I'm just glad to be part of the process.
He said it beautifully. I'm so pleased you went first. So I'm just go exactly what he said. But we did enjoy. We had fun, and that's what our characters were friends. And then I was deeply embarrassed to be someone who's older than his actual mum, but it was so easy and comfortable and fun, and we totally learnt from each other. And I love going to work, but I'd sort of forgotten quite how exciting it can be. And Michael is the most upbeat, happy, excited person. He just went, yeah! And everyone went with him. And it was so enjoyable. It was easy, really.